this Tuesday afternoon. Today is August 31st, 2021. And this is your host, Joe Imbriano, the Fullerton Informer, coming to you live from the streets of Orange County, California. My contact information is PO Box 4120, Fullerton, California, 92834. And Joe Imbriano 777 at gmail.com. Check out my other channels, the FullertonInformer.com website. And of course, 5GDangers.com and WiFiDangers.com, VaxDangers.com, all of the above, folks. All right, let's get right into this. So, I want to join you this afternoon on just a little bit of a lunch break special here. And anytime I pick up the phone and stream, it's because I've got something important to release, right? But I want to go over an assessment, okay? I want to go over an assessment of education, right? It's back to school, right? And I know a lot of you are losing your lunch over your children and all of the accoutrements that go along with this time of the year, the inconveniences that come with the territory this time of the year, and ushering in the homework meltdowns, the sleepless nights, and the near-miss traffic accidents, dropping your children off at school, rushing to go to work, blowing red lights, and all of the things that we dread, right? We're all parents, we've all been through it. I strongly recommend, if there's any way possible, for you to homeschool your children, okay? At a time like this, folks, you cannot discount the advantages and the benefits of homeschooling. I live in Fullerton, California. Many of you don't realize that. And near my home, within a mile, are 2 colleges, 3 or 4 elementary schools, and a high school from hell, right? Troy High School. Sheet metal walls, industrial strength, Wi-Fi access points, no windows, cancer cluster, all kinds of problems over there. But folks, the reason I want to talk to you about Education Day is Cal State Fullerton is in the middle of an expansion. It's a state-run university. It's a massive mind control facility. Well-funded, a lot of money in the state budget for the Cal State system. They've got their share of vaccine mandates, wireless technology, weaponized air conditioning, weaponized Wi-Fi systems, tinted windows, and, you know, brain-damaging curricula. But I want to talk to you about what they're doing. I'm watching them build these structures, right? Whether they be classrooms or dormitories or whatever is underway over there. These colleges, these high schools, these classrooms for elementary students, they are to domesticate the human cattle. I repeat, the purpose of education is to domesticate the human cattle. Now, what happens when you take an animal and you domesticate it, right? Well, do any of you have any experience with cats? Well, I do. I've had cats living in my backyard, and I've had cats as a child in the neighborhood, right? There's a difference. These feral cats won't come near you. They'll scrape you if they get cornered. And a domesticated cat will walk right up to you and roll on its back and let you play with its tummy, as long as you give it a little nibble of something good, right? You can gain its trust with a little morsel. Well, the purpose of education is to domesticate the human cattle so they will be in a position of perpetual vulnerability, ladies and gentlemen. By training the human cattle to constantly have a mindset of dependence instead of independence, have a mindset of letting your guard down instead of being cautious and suspicious, and having a mindset of being provided for and cared for and protected instead of a mindset of providing for oneself, caring for oneself, and protecting oneself. We all know that 99% of what the schools teach are inverted lies about science, about history, about culture, about geography. It's about health. I mean, everything they've given us in these schools is an inversion. And, you know, I have to tell you, I spent, 18 years in school. Kindergarten through 12th grade's 13 years. Most of that in Catholic school. And no, I'm not a Jesuit, even though a bunch of Jesuits provided the training for me. I didn't end up walking out of there being a Jesuit, a Vatican assassin warlock. I'm not a Catholic. I walked away from the blending of paganism and Christianity. I'm not part of the Catholic Church anymore, but they did have a decent school system. However, it was riddled with all the agendas, just like anything else. But when you have a situation like we find ourselves in today, you need to understand that what we have been taught as children, what we've been taught as young adults, and what we've been taught as graduate students in the upper level is a foundation that is built upon lie after lie after lie, and it is a social conditioning system to get us to where we are today. By and large, the reason why the educational system is so well funded and the system has not been changed for decades and decades is because it's so effective at what it does. I'll give you an example. The satanic video games called Call of Duty, they haven't changed the color or the format for 25 years because it's so effective at addicting people to it and turning them into idiots that if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? Why reinvent the wheel when it's rolling just fine? The schools are a well-oiled machine that are designed to turn the human beings into domesticated livestock. Now, when you have a cat that has spent its whole life outside and had no contact with domestication techniques, it can survive on its own. And it has tremendous defense mechanisms, and it's highly suspicious of anybody that tries to con it into doing anything. It will not roll over on its stomach and say, tickle me and please give me pleasure. It will not roll over on its stomach and let all of its guard down and say, please feed me. It will not roll over on its stomach and say, please do whatever you want to me because I trust you. It will not roll over on its back and say, hey, you're my master, I'm your servant, right? No, a feral cat, a wild cat that's not in contact with humans is out hunting. It's looking for a place. It's always looking for an exit strategy. It's always looking for a way to protect itself in case it's violated or injured or harmed by someone with bad intentions, whether it be a predator or a person. It always thinks twice about walking into a trap. For crying out loud, the schools train you to live in a trap. That's right. You know why the mouse always dies? Because the cheese was free, right? You ever hear that one? So they're building these colleges, expanding the dormitories, expanding the classroom capacity, because they are planning on making sure that education ends up becoming free, because the domestication process right now is in full swing and is more important than ever, because guess what? Guess what the desired goal of domesticating livestock is, folks? Any of you out there have a farm, on a farm, worked with livestock? What is the goal of taming the shrew, right? What is the goal of taming the wild beast? What is the goal of domesticating livestock? Well, so they'll do what they're told, be a good slave, and when it comes time to cut their head off and turn them into a side of ribeye or a slab of bacon, they'll be at the disposal of the master. The schools teach dependence, not independence. The schools teach no sense of caution fully trusting in authorities, government, and the world system. Instead of being skeptical and questioning things, it teaches blind faith, blind trust, and a blind commitment to the system. It teaches servitude instead of independence. What's very dangerous about the education system is the foundation of lies, precept upon precept, lie upon lie, brick upon brick, made out of fraud, has given absolute power through trauma-based mind control and fear in the media for everyone to hand over all their rights and roll over on their back and roll up their sleeve and say, feed me, do what you want to me, do what you want to me, please. I know you won't hurt me, so just inject me and feed me and give me money. And please make sure that I'm safe and I have hot pockets and my electricity stays on so I can watch Netflix all night and microwave popcorn and put Oreos and ice cream and whipped cream in the blender and make milkshakes and stay with my cozy blankie all night and watch all these reruns as I live vicariously through a satanic mind control system called a hell-o-vision. In the meantime, the walls are closing in and everyone's asleep at the switch, right? You know, the schools have for a long time taught us we're on this spinning ball and that, you know, the water comes from the rain and the snow melt. And they hide all the water under the ground. Now we're going into the period where they're controlling the water. They'll dry certain areas out and flood certain areas in. And you know, look, folks, they're telling us that plant food is causing the weather to change instead of the scalar weapons that are leaving their imprints in the chemtrails in the sky. I mean, you know, I was talking to my wife yesterday, and I said, look, honey. I said, we had monsoonal moisture coming in from the desert over the mountains. It was actually moving. It was coming up from the southeast, which is normal for this time of the year. So we had these puffy white clouds over the San Bernardino Mountains heading in towards the coastal plain of Orange County. I said, hey, we're going to get some rain, honey. And about an hour and a half later, there was a bunch of chemtrails in the sky, and there were the scalar wave tracks up there. I said, hey, look at this. And all of a sudden, you know, we've got this haze and these, yeah, she goes, oh, look at that. It looks like a TV antenna took an imprint up there. So that's what they do. You know, they got these electromagnetic systems. They control the weather and they tell us it's, oh, you can't burn charcoal. You can't burn gasoline. You can't have a natural gas stove. You got to have an electric heater. You can't have gasoline. You can't use gasoline. You can't use oil in the power plants. You can't use coal. You got to use solar. You got to use wind. You got to go dark at night because there ain't no solar, right? Folks, what do the schools have in them? They have teachers. What is a school? Well, it's a noun that is used to describe a group of fish that's about to get netted up and scooped up and sent off to the meatpacking plant, right? Sent off to the cannery, right? What's a school? Well, it's a noun for a place where children go to get mind controlled and domesticated. So they grow up, instead of being able-bodied, independent, rugged individualists, they become dependent, pathetic, cowardly, emasculated, government-worshipping, boot-licking fools. Instead of having a mindset of independence, they become the Bolsheviks' best friend. As a matter of fact, if you look at some of the vernacular that is being employed by the upper echelons of education right now, you're going to have all of this mingling of all of these key words that are designed to, you know, for lack of a better term, they're insiders, basically. So they take the truth and mix it with lies and throw a few of these insiders in there, get people to fight with each other over an issue that's not even relevant. And in the meantime, the people behind the curtain are pulling the strings, like in the, you know, the Wizard of Oz, right? They're getting us to fight with each other. Schools teach us to rely on the government instead of distrust the government and question the government. Schools teach us to believe everything we're told instead of critically think and analyze things. That's why they give children so much homework. They overload them with information, so they just absorb it through trauma-based mind control. They literally crack their heads open psychologically and pour in all these lies, and the children are so overwhelmed with all this information that they don't question it, and they just take it in. And then when it's repeated over and over again, you know, it's basically formed into a slab, a foundation, if you will, of lies. And so then consequently each grade lays another layer on top of this. And by the time, like for me, when I got out of college, after, you know, 13 years plus 5, 18 years, boy, I thought I knew everything. Boy, was I wrong. I'll be the first to admit, I thought I was really smart. But I was really wise in the lies, folks, and that's what college does. Now, if you want to go out there and learn how to rebuild an air conditioning compressor, or work on a jet engine, or wire a house, or you want to go be a lineman or a plumber, you know, do something with your hands that helps people, that's fine. But, you know, to go in these into these fields that are total frauds, and you know what I'm talking about, the field right now that's taking us down is the allopathic medical system. If you're part of that system right now, you're feeling the heat. You're feeling what you're part of. And you're about to get injected with something that you made possible. All right? The entire system of education is designed to create a livestock farm that is all going to be headed for a slaughterhouse, okay? And there are different methods of finishing the job. I mean, you know, some of these animals go into a meat grinder, some of them go to a buzz saw, some of them get their heads blown off and carved up by a guy hunting out in the field. But you know, the end result is all the same. These guys never know what it's like to be free. Sound familiar? They never know what they're missing because they think that, you know, what they see is all there is. They don't know what it's like to roam and have a lot of room and open space. They're building these apartments, they're building these dorm rooms, they're building these classrooms. It's all about the four walls and the mind control, folks. You need to train your children in the way that they should go so that when they become older, they will not depart from it, okay? God's word tells us, train up a child in the way he or she should go so that when they are older, they will not depart from it. They may stray because of the pull of the world and the influences and all the bad advice that's being dispensed by the magazines and the music and the movies and the news and the peer pressure and the school pressure and all of this nonsense. I mean, it's garbage, right? You know, you look at these high schools. I remember this house not too far from my house. I have to be honest with you, folks. I like to trash dig, okay? I learned that as a child growing up. You know, people throw out a lot of good stuff. And when I see a bunch of stuff out in front of a house and a for sale sign on it, I'm like, oh boy, here we go, right? Anyway, I guess this old lady died, and I found these yearbooks from 1952, 1953, no, it was 1953 through 1957 for Fullerton High School. I kid you not. So here's these yearbooks from 60 years ago. And I'm not kidding you, folks. They have the same programs today, the same dances, the same clubs, the same sports, the same departments, the same organizational hierarchy of the administration. It's, you know, the school system's like a military operation, folks. It's got, you know, generals and you know, sergeants, and you know, you got superintendents, assistant superintendents. You got everything, folks. It's run like the Vatican, for crying out loud. All of that stuff is. So the reason that they haven't changed it a bit, and they're teaching the same classes, I mean, folks, the world has changed dramatically in the last 60 years in terms of what skills are necessary to survive. But you'd never know by what they're teaching these children, ladies and gentlemen, because what they're teaching these children has nothing to do with real life skills or survival skills or how to be successful and how to be human and how to be free and how to be sovereign and how to be happy and how to be healthy. No, it's all about being a domesticated chattel property of the master, right? Headed for the slaughterhouse. That is why they don't change the subjects. That is why they don't change the different clubs. They don't change the periods. They don't change the sports. They don't change the departments. They don't change the structure and the time of the instruction. They keep it going just like Xbox 360. Why? Because Call of Duty doesn't need to be improved. It's the ultimate weapon of satanic mind control. And the same thing can be said of the educational system, folks. It's the same setup. It works like a charm. Why fix it if it ain't broke? Why reinvent the wheel? And it's cranked out so many human cattle that I think these people in charge are literally laughing their satanic arses off, right? And now they're just forgiving all this tuition debt, and they're trying to make everything free. And, oh yeah, if you want to go to junior college, you can get free tuition, but guess what the catch is when you get out of high school? You want to know what the catch is for financial aid? Oh, it's free for just about everybody in the United States. Guess what the catch is? Anybody have any idea? Anybody want to take a guess what the catch is for financial aid to go to a junior college? Any comments? Let's see if anybody in the stream can name it. I'll tell you what it is, folks. You got to register for the Selective Service. Thank you, Revelation 3.9. You got it. In order to get your free college, you got to sign your life away for the Selective Service. All right? And then once, you know, you're in the Selective Service, then you're in the lottery for lucky you to get drafted when they reinstate the draft, after they run a bunch of false flags and fake a bunch of crap in the news and maybe blow some things up and blame it on a boogeyman so we can send a couple 100,000 troops to go die in the desert, right? Yeah, it's hilarious. Did you know when you sign up for driver's license, you're automatically defaulted as an organ donor? Folks, you're 21 years old, and you're actually, if you're 18 or 19, you're in the prime of your life. You're ripped. You can eat all the Twinkies you want. You don't gain an ounce, and you got muscles I never knew I had. They want your organs, folks. You end up in a car accident, they'll put you under the influence of something to knock you out, declare you brain dead, and cut you up like a USDA prime steer from the plains and pastures of Montana, right? I'm telling you, folks, this whole thing is designed to get us to let our guard down so they can tickle our ears, tickle our tummy, and have their way with us. Folks, wake the hell up! You want to stay stuck on stupid? Be my guest, because you're in good company. This is a broadcast that is going out for the purpose of edification, and so that you may avoid the traps and the snares that have been set for all of you. If you think your child's life is over because they're not doing well in school, more millionaires that didn't finish high school. All right. You know, I was talking to my tax guy, and we had a little conversation. Every year it's like going to the dentist, right? You know, you pay all this money and you don't get nothing for it except chased by the cops. Your front end falls apart on your. They get to the government. They get to poison your water. You know, they get to chase your children around with, you know, when the children are driving home from their friend's house with the sirens, right? And, you know, they get to make all these laws, and the cops are, you know, hanging out in the church parking lot, you know, watching porn on their cell phones. And then the neighbor, you know, takes a picture of it and puts the article up on the Next Door Neighbor app, and Next Door Neighbor app takes the post down when the cops are hiding behind the Mormon church over on Raymond and Fullerton, right? And you know, that's our tax money, right? And when they go and beat someone to death and try to cover it up, and they all get defended, and, you know, millions of dollars are spent on lawsuits and lawyers' fees, and we get to pay for it, right? And then I get woken up by some jackass with a blower, you know, blowing a, what are those, what do you call those things? Those gas-powered blowers. Instead of using a broom, 7 o'clock in the morning, they're out there blasting that thing, right? Because they're too lazy to use a broom, so they got this 2-stroke blower running, 7 o'clock in the morning. And I call the police department and say, oh, well, you know, 7 o'clock's when they can start. Okay, great. Maybe I ought to wake up at 7 o'clock in the morning and start cranking out a bunch of Christian music and say, this is my generation of energy source for the day, and this is equipment I got to use in order for me to run my house and power my house. I need to hear the Holy Spirit with the volume turned up to 10. Maybe I'll start doing that. And if the police come saying, I'm not disturbing the peace, I'm running my house. That's my generator. Folks, this is what we've got. We've got a government that mandates education and then tricks you into getting registered for military service. As I was driving by Troy High School this morning, I saw a couple of Fullerton cops sitting on the hood of their car, and right next to their car was the Air Force van. So the recruiters on campus, you know, what a great time as the media hypes up this Afghanistan thing. I heard on Fox News, they said they got a tape of how the Taliban's going house to house and executing people. Yeah, I heard that Fox News has a story out about that. They leaked a tape. Do you know how easy it is to make a tape and fake the tape and then release it? Who the heck do you think runs Fox News? The same people that are running CNN, the same people that are running MSNBC and ABC and TriStar and Buena Vista and Disney and Columbia and Universal and Paramount and 20th Century Fox and everything else, folks. They're all controlled by the deniers of Jesus Christ, feeding us lies, trying to get us into a slaughterhouse. And what do? Oh, where's my stimulus check? Oh, well, can I sign up for financial aid? Oh, can I get this? Oh, folks, when they give you something for free, there's always a catch, right? Ask the mouse. You know, I'm going to give you a little secret here, folks. I like to use an electronic rat zapper, okay? If you've seen one of those things, they cost about $60. All right, and I don't like rats. Nobody does, but you know, vector control's not putting out poison anymore, so they're running rampant. The coyotes are eating all the cats, and so when I have a grapevine, I'd like to at least eat some of my grapes, for crying out loud, so these rats don't get them all. So, what I use for the rat zapper, it's really interesting. I take a piece of meat. I have this little Tupperware container. And there's an old roast that's probably about 8 months old, and it's sitting in this little Tupperware container outside in the heat, and it's the rottenest, stinkiest piece of meat you'll ever find, and I'll take just a little square of it, and then I'll take a little peanut butter and put it on top of that, and then I'll take a little jelly and put it on top of that, and then I'll put it on a cracker, and then I'll gently place it in the back of this rat zapper. All right? And then I'll turn that sucker on, and I'll place it somewhere where I think I'm going to find these things, right? Well, when that rat walks in there, I have a camera on one of them, and I watched how these things operate so I could figure out how to effectively get rid of them. And what happens is the rat will walk around this trap. He won't walk into it right away. He'll walk around the back, right? And he'll start sniffing around the back, and then he can't resist the temptation of the free meal, right? He doesn't have to chase anything. He doesn't have to hunt nothing down. He literally just has to take a few steps and walk right up to the buffet. And so reluctantly he'll walk in there, and then he'll put his head in the back, and then the minute his 2 front feet touch that plate and his 2 back feet are on the other plate, he makes a circuit out of himself, and that's the end of the rat. Now, you need to understand something, folks. That's exactly what they're doing to us with all this free stuff, with all this stimulus money, with all this free health care, with all this free tuition, with all this free housing, with all this free benefits, with all this free everything. Folks, there's a catch. When you get free housing, guess what? They can lock you into that HUD complex, and they can weaponize it with their light bulbs and their Wi-Fi and their air conditioning systems. Folks, you need to understand that this is nothing more than a big fat setup to turn you into a gutted fat hog, okay? What's the solution? Like I said yesterday, just say no. By the way, I'll tell you about, since somebody mentioned right now grapevines. If you want a grapevine to grow in your yard, what you got to do is this. Right around February or so, usually Valentine's Day, when you see the grapevine just beginning to bud and sprout leaves, cut a branch off and stick it in a pot and dirt and start watering it. And there's about a 50-50 chance that branch will start rooting. The other thing you can do is if you have a grapevine, you can pull one of the branches down and not cut it but bury it, and that may root. Once it gets enough rooting, you can cut it. You can propagate grapevines, folks. That's how all my vines have been propagated. I have vines I've taken with me everywhere I've moved to by propagating them. Folks, I can't take this anymore either. I'm just telling you, I see these cranes going up, and they're building you know, these extended stay America hotels that are going to be quarantine prisons. There's no windows that open. You know, they're fully secure. The door's locked from the outside in. They're building these dormitories for these colleges. They're building these lecture halls to lie to these children. They're building these classrooms to mind control. Folks, I need you to wake up. You need to wake up. All right? And I'll keep talking until you do. All right, this is Joe Imbriano, the Fullerton Forward. Thank you for tuning in. I want to thank you all for joining me on this broadcast on this wonderful summer afternoon here, as I'm looking out and I see these subtropical clouds coming up from looks like the Gulf of Mexico here, maybe a little thunderstorm activity. Hopefully it's not raining too much where you are, but get out and enjoy the mosquitoes, get out and enjoy the flies, get out and enjoy the chemtrails, get out and enjoy the cell towers, get out and enjoy those LED street lights, get out and enjoy those weaponized projector beam headlights, get out and enjoy all the people walking around with face diapers and dishwashing gloves on. Get out and enjoy all of the propaganda that you see on the television trying to scare the living daylights out of you. And just get out and do me a favor, folks. Do me a favor. Realize two things. Jesus Christ is the way, the truth, and the life, and God's in control. And number two, liars can figure and figures can lie. And don't fall for it. Take care, folks. God bless.